Information communication technologies, ICTs, and the internet are increasingly becoming an important tool in the overall development of nations across the globe. A cursory look at how economies run today will show that their well-functioning is inextricably linked to the internet system, and without it, cross-national and even local business transactions would be very difficult to accomplish. Such has become the role and importance of the internet today.
Yeah, the internet is expensive in Zimbabwe, but it remains new ground or new territory for exploring better ways of putting information out, allowing greater access to information for ordinary citizens, particularly the use of the internet for social media, whether you're looking at your Facebooks, Twitters, and particularly WhatsApp, mobile social media directly. It helps in accentuating access to information, and it helps in creating new avenues of accessing new ideas or reconfirming old ideas, but largely in relation to the public good or the public interest.
Yeah, it is relevant. Just because right now we are living in the digital age, whereby the internet is actually taking center stage. So it involves a lot of uploading our podcast online, maybe be it on Facebook, and actually uploading our news on our website. So it involves a lot of working with the internet. It's more like without the internet we cannot do anything, So that's how internet is actually a necessity in terms of how to undertake our duties.
Even within the civic society space, ICTs and the internet are also becoming an integral part of how organizations go about development work. There is a realization that the cyberspace presents a new frontier for information sharing, exchange, and general engagement. Currently, this is still primarily between citizens, but opportunities exist for such engagement between elected leaders and their constituencies, and between government and citizens as well.
Earlier, we work with young people in both the rural and the urban areas. Sometimes for young people in rural areas, internet accessibility is not as easy as it is for the ones in the urban areas. So you find that sometimes they are left out because they could not access a message or they could not access information when it was shared, but somebody who was in an urban setting was able to get a particular message. So in that way, we find that we are not really able to reach out to everyone as we would intend. Some are reached out to, but several others are left out of the information process.
What is more fundamental, however, is the proper and inclusive regulation of the internet. Despite its obvious advantages and good use to which it can be put, the internet has its own pitfalls and negative side. From pornography, cybercrime, and terrorism, to cyberbullying, criminals and other uncouth characters have also taken advantage of the cyberspace to perpetuate criminal activity. In Zimbabwe, various civic and development organizations have also found the internet and ICTs as handy tools in development work. For youth servicing organizations, the internet on mobile phone have come as a handy respite, especially for their information and advocacy work.
We've been working with the youth and in the social media. That's where we've been pushing our content, because we, as a startup, we can't go to print. Printing is expensive vis-a-vis going online.
This is an untamed ground in terms of us Zimbabweans, right? You find that everyone is online, right? It's like giving candy to everyone. Everyone is chewing their sweets, but no one is really caring about the harms and dangers of actually being online. So social media and the internet are things that are actually our core type of functionality. That is actually the foundation of digital. That's why we're actually there as well. And we've seen that there's a real need for us to actually to center most of our communication towards the internet and best type of use or etiquette in terms of how to use our social media. There's so many case studies in Zimbabwe, but maybe I'll just state one. If you look at the Baba Juba case, right? This was just a social media Facebook page but it went into like political, right? But people were now robbed in for just like simply just liking the page or commenting, right? So all these things, Zimbabweans didn't know that then, but now that is the core of digital, of simplifying and really telling people that this can actually put you into trouble. Also, you find that the cases on social media, like WhatsApp as well, where prominent like people have been robbed down due to their sensitive information that are actually shared there. So I find that all those are gaps and actually lack of knowledge with the common simplified type of the Zimbabwean type of citizen. So that's why DigiSoc is now there to actually to use social media and internet as ways.
WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter stand out today as primary platforms through which development partners are linking with ordinary citizens. In sharing information critical for community development, while also giving the ordinary citizens that critical space and opportunity to share what is happening in their communities.
The advent of the mobile phone, as well as the use of particular mobile phone related applications such as Facebook and WhatsApp, is important in Zimbabwe because these platforms have offered new ways of communicating, particularly via group information sharing or individual self-recognition in terms of a Facebook page, Facebook account, and other things like that. And it is because they are accessible and they are widely available and they're also fashionable. So these are products that speak to the way people exist on a daily basis, and they're always in your pocket. And this differs largely with a personal computer or a desktop, which essentially is cumbersome and also difficult to use for some comrades that perhaps may not be as literate as they should be in terms of a computer. But the phone is self-explanatory, it is handy, it is easy, and therefore it becomes immediately popular in Zimbabwe's context. But more because in other spheres, such as television and radio, there's limited entertainment and there's limited access by citizens to ZBC, for example, to Radio Zimbabwe, for example. So they create their own means of entertaining themselves and even informing themselves, such as security groups, church groups, former high school students networks, amongst others, because these are new, easy platforms that they can control that are not subject to government diktat or editorial interference.
Yeah, the accessibility and affordability of internet, the gadgets that are used for information access, they are actually a challenge for most of the young people in Zimbabwe particularly. So that is one of the challenges that we have as an organization, to be in a position to penetrate all the corners of the country and possibly engage with young people for them to participate in issues that are affecting them.
When we talk of social media, as I have mentioned, there is the issue of WhatsApp. WhatsApp is particularly relevant with regard to outlying communities that do not have much of access to the internet. So most of the young people in those communities are now having access to WhatsApp. In fact, let me say a significant number of those people are now having access to WhatsApp. And what we do is we tend to link those with and those who do not have. For example, we identify a community, we then find out how many people have access to WhatsApp or the mobile phone for that matter, because SMS can go to any other mobile phone. We establish that and we try, we have come up with the means of linking up the different people so that those with access to SMS and WhatsApp can also be media for conveying messages to other people.
This is how the world is increasingly becoming interconnected.
As a filmmaker, we want our films to be seen, and have conversation, to create conversation after we make our films, after we make our documentaries. And in Zimbabwe, that platform have been very, very difficult to get where we give films to the people. So social media have helped us very well to make films which people see through Facebook, because we make these films very short and we upload them on Facebook, and they create dialogue, which is the main. I would want to believe that it's a dream for every filmmaker to make a film which will get to the people.
There is still a glaring bias in terms of access, where rural areas are compared to urban areas. This, especially in developing countries like Zimbabwe.
First of all, in terms of our geographical representation, we have members who are staying in areas like Zaka and also Gwanda, Talale village down there. So in terms of accessibility, I think 3G network from Econet and also even Telecel and Net1, in those areas it is very difficult for our members to access internet using these service providers. And just to say, in terms of the service providers, especially I would say Econet, I'm sorry to say this, I think in terms of their service, I think for the ordinary young people, it's still very expensive for them to afford it. And then in terms of security, I would say, I think you remember here in Zimbabwe, the space is not that free. So a lot of young people, they are not, as free when it comes to engaging online, because they are, afraid. Because when you say something, you don't know what will happen. I think you remember what happened to Itai Zamara. I think you remember on Facebook and on Twitter, those guys, they were very, very, very active on those platforms. But then, you don't know what will then happen. So I would say the space, the media space, particularly online, I think there are still a lot of issues in terms of security.
One of the main challenges we faced is to make people realize that the internet is a politicized issue. It's not just another piece of infrastructure like electricity or running water or anything. It's what is online is a political issue, and whoever decides on what is online and who it is accessible to is a political issue. And we try to raise awareness of the fact that there are a lot of companies that are limiting access to certain cultural or cultural expressions or some knowledge basically in terms of profit. And there's also lots of governments who are limiting access to information from their citizens in order to protect themselves against transparency. And so it's a democratic issue whether or not the internet is available.
The gaps that we do have is our county. Kenya is divided into counties, so our county does not have free internet. Like anywhere you go, you get free internet. No, you have to go to a restaurant which has Wi-Fi, or you go to the cyber cafe, or you have your phone which is connected to the internet. So those are the gaps. So if we would have our county just has internet like everywhere, that I think that would be awesome. And also the Wi-Fi. Yeah, you have to get it at a restaurant. So some of the people can't afford to go to restaurants and get Wi-Fi because the restaurants are high standards.
It's like we have been living in the military gender for years, and we just opening up our relation to other countries right now. So we are a lot back behind the ICT developments kind of thing. So it's really hard to reach the young people only via internet or only via telephone or something. So the best method is to go and talk to them, to go and talk face to face, engaging them directly. The young people in the rural community as well, young people in urban community, because young people, we don't believe any other people, because our trust has been broken by the military gender before, and we are told to not to talk about politics, and people got a lot of fear about politics, about social movement, about activism. So the most important method that we need to use is like peer to peer, convincing them like a young girl like me and going to talk to them, and they are surprised. Oh my God, this girl is so active. Why can't we are active like her? So it's like the best method I found out is like peer-to-peer relations.
It's very difficult to access, for example, a minister, or even to access a member of parliament. But recently, I think if you have noticed, ministers, for example, Minister Jonathan Moyo, is available online. So I would say, as young people, we need to start to use social for engagement. Maybe you want to ask a question from a particular minister, maybe Minister Kasukwere. I think if we can harness social media, I think it is very, very important in bridging the gap between decision makers and citizens.
I think the primary issue around young Zimbabweans and new media is that they have to contextualize it. You cannot simply use social media for entertainment. It's good, it's allowed, it's in fact helpful. But you also have to use it to communicate democratic values, democratic principles, and to understand that each one must teach one. And with this new tool that is the internet and social media, unlike the days of the liberation struggle where you wrote a cumbersome letter explaining the values of democracy, the values of fighting for freedom, now you can actually easily do it via a platform such as Facebook, WhatsApp and Twitter. So it's not simply just for egoistic tendencies that these tools exist. These tools must exist for collective democratic value, and even from my own perspective, social democratic ethos, to understand that we must use these tools to bring our government to account on things that we regard as important for everyone's development, for everyone to have a fair start and for everyone to have a fair opportunity at leading a wholesome and fulfilling life.